Uh,
Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody. Oh,
Hello.
the Black Panther mouth sounds are the best
Yes.
mouth sounds.
Yes, they really are.
Happy you all are joining us today. Y'all, we got a great show. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel really good about this one. This is going to be a good one.
Ooh,
So I'm happy all of you are tuning in to what we got going tonight. Just a quick heads up that we are going to get into Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So if you have not seen it, this is your spoiler warning. We will give one more spoiler warning before we dive into it. But just as a heads up, we are going to really get into the movie. I do want to
make your mama.
Yep. It's that mask is gonna throw me this whole time, and I'm very excited about it.
I know.
How do I sound? Do I sound like a Black Panther?
You
do, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. All right. Yeah, that's fine. Very excited about it. But we are so excited to be with you, but we need to make sure everybody is thoroughly welcomed and introed into the show. So I'm going to kick it on over to the Black Panther himself, Marcus J. Destin. Marcus, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Been putting the black in Black Panther since '94, so you know what I mean.
Love
it. It's a good day.
It's a great day.
I've been dissecting. I've been living with this movie for about 24 hours now. And it's been a lot to like relive. And so I'm really glad to be potting right now. And I'm glad we live. So y'all, if y'all watching us, this ain't a spectator sport. Get y'all asses in the chat. Talk to us. Let us know how you feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you've got a point about the movie you want to make, go ahead, drop it on into the comments wherever you are streaming this, and we will we'll read it on the show. But
I did actually want to say something.
Yes.
Before there was another shooting today.
Yes, there was
on the campus of UVA. So I did want to say hold on. Prayers to those involved. Didn't want to say that with a mask on. Prayers to those that lost somebody today, and then prayers to those injured. Prayers to those whose lives were lost. Prayers to those family members. That's just that one hits close to home, especially being at UVA. And so I just wanted to say that and just take some time to recognize that. And so,
yeah. I think after everything, everybody is a Cavalier today, sending their thoughts and vibes their way, hoping for peace to campus for sure. So, and kicking it on down to a one, Brian Roush, aka Everett Ross Energy. Brian, how you feeling?
Hey there. I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be here. I saw this movie Saturday morning because of my schedule. So I've been I very much like Marcus. I've been sitting with a lot of feelings, like a lot of them good, but the movie made me feel a lot of things. So I'm excited that we get to talk about it and have a ton of spoilers about it, because anytime somebody found out I like watched this movie this weekend, they were like, "Oh my gosh, how did you like it?" And I was like, I can't tell you about it without spoiling it. Like, it's just, it's impossible, everything they did with this movie. So I'm very excited to get into all of it. Also really excited because it was a busy weekend here in the Roush household. We did a ton of house stuff, had a birthday party for my youngest. He'll be turning 1 on Thursday. So happy birthday, Aiden. But we had all the family over. It was a whole day extravaganza on Sunday. So very excited to sit down and talk about movies. Very excited.
Happy birthday, Aiden.
Happy birthday, Aiden. We are so glad you have been born. I know what those 1-year-old birthday parties are sort of like. They're sort of like watching like a parade. So yeah, it's sort of like, oh, this is really cool. You're really hyped about this, right? You're like, I mean, I kind of am. Should I be? Who am I hyped for? Like, it's such a weird feeling.
As like a father that has now done this 3 times, the 1-year birthday party, that is for you, the parent. Like, the 1-year-old, he doesn't care at all. No. He doesn't give a flying flip. Like, this party's for you. So you want to get extra beer? Great, go for it. You want to do buffalo wings for dinner? Why not? Kid doesn't care. He's gonna be in bed. So anyway, that party's for you. for you,
That's
parents
a
of
very good
1-year-olds.
point. That's a very good point, and I
I
am
do
so
feel
glad
I
you
feel
brought that
like
up.
I was there, Aiden, when I found out that you were coming in like
It's
to this
true.
world. I was we
Yes.
was I remember I'll never forget the day when I found out and I was like, damn,
Yeah,
this is happening.
yeah,
And so Aiden is a podcast baby. So shout out to Aiden.
yeah. We're gonna call him the podcast baby from now on. So
He's the
I hope
he's the
Maggie's okay with
podcast
that.
baby.
So
Aiden,
Yeah.
if you hear this in the future, you're the podcast baby. Thank
you
you,
are the
Roman, and
you
our
are the
Patreon
podcast
chat
baby.
for saying happy birthday. I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, it's been a busy day and a busy weekend for us on
right.
the Wagner front. So Saturday morning, I got a text from a college friend that he was close by.
Oh, cool.
So shout out to Merdad, who was in
Oh,
Yankton
heck yeah.
detailing a plane. So I drove
Yep.
out there and had coffee with him. Then not 6
Very
hours
cool.
later, drove to Sioux City to see Black Panther with Marcus. So saw it Saturday afternoon. So I had a busy Saturday, a little bit more of a lower key Sunday, but yeah, busy weekend overall in the Wagner house. I'm just I'm very excited to be talking about this movie. I have also been sitting with it and trying to process, because I think of the three of us, I am in a different, and we'll get to it when we break it down.
Okay.
But I am not in a different camp that I didn't think it was good. I did. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I just showed up for different reasons. So I think that there's some pieces there.
We had a good discussion about
We had
that
a very good
before
discussion
the episodes. So I think this is going to be a really good episode. I do want to say I am now on my 4th copy of Death of Superman.
He's a lot of Death of Superman, you guys.
Your 4th copy?
Yes.
It was the 30th anniversary of Death of Superman, and of course,
indeed.
as per usual, me and Doug went to a comic book store before the movie.
That's what we do.
Okay, excellent.
So we went, and I remembered when I walked in the door that the 30th anniversary of the Death of Superman came out, and so of course they had variant covers in the special edition, and so I had to pop them. And then I got home and bagged and boarded my comic books, and it was just a good day for Marcus. You know what I mean? A good weekend not to do anything. And I just want to say, I am grateful to have a podcast where I could say that sentence and nobody even flinches or is like, "Ooh, God, look at this guy, he's a nerd." I'm just happy to have a safe space.
Well, and we are happy to provide you that safe space.
Yeah.
Do I think it's a little crazy to have so many copies of Death of Superman?
No,
I'm not gonna lie to you.
not.
It's
Absolutely
not crazy.
Hey,
I'm glad it's your bag.
Why?
But when you showed me that, because
boarded.
when he got to like the new releases section, he was like, "You see this?" And he pulls out these like 5 issues. And the only reason why he didn't buy 5 was because there was one that I liked the cover of, and I was like, "Hey, let me get that one." And so
as a true friend,
he did. And he made it very clear. He's like, this one's off limits, but you can have any of these other ones because they're awesome. So yeah, it was a good vibe. But I absolutely appreciate that. Also, that I can show up to this podcast and be like, "Hey, look at this thing I read. It's really weird. I hope you enjoy it." Like, yeah.
Or just, share like metal as hell comic book covers, because I'm always here for that too.
Absolutely. And I love to share those. So before we get into Catch That Quotable, I did want to remind all those who are watching and also listening to this on Wednesday when the episode drops everywhere you get your podcast, that you can follow us on our social media pages at Films in Black and White on Facebook and Instagram, and at Films in B_W for Twitter, so long as it is still alive.
We'll see what happens next week.
That shit's gonna hit the fan soon. So do with that what you will.
Still a thing. So
that guy walked in with a kitchen sink thinking he was big shit popping, and then all of a sudden shit just started going left. And I just don't understand what happened. Like,
I mean, I know we're not like a social media expert podcast, but like what I do know is everything that I see, it feels like the worst outside manager hire like you've ever had in your job, of like someone coming at me like, "I got this brand new idea. It's going to change everything." And like your coworker's like, "We've done that for 5 years." And they're like, "Okay, but this time it's better."
Right.
The best part is he's being corrected in real time. And
it's incredible.
That's him in real time how bad these ideas are. And he still is just like, interesting. Like, no, motherfucker, either fix it or leave it alone.
Right. That's a very good point. It's a very, very good point. It does have all the tropes of, hey, We hired a hockey coach to coach a baseball team.
Yeah,
We're
it really
gonna see
does.
what happens. And
It really does.
yeah, it is we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
But
good
I know,
luck
I
to
know
everybody.
Tesla and Twitter start with a T, but it's not the same thing.
They
so
are not. And yeah,
that's
there
fine.
I could get into a huge I did a lot of research into Elon Musk because I needed to know
Oh,
some things. So I could go off, but that is
Yeah,
another
I'm with
podcast
you.
for
That's another episode.
that's another episode for another day. But gentlemen, we have
Mhm.
a episode, we have a quote to get to
Oh
for
boy.
Catch That Quotable.
Get that quotable.
Let's see, I did it. I love it.
Nice.
And this one was submitted by Roman Myers, who is one of our Patreon supporters. And so we are going to play Roman's Millions. Gentlemen, are you ready for the quote? And to those who may be watching this episode for this live stream, if you think you know the quote and you're not Roman Myers, drop your best guess in the
That's a fact.
Get in that
Drop it
chat.
in the chat.
So, gentlemen, are you ready for this week's quote?
Yep, let's get it.
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
I'm an expert in rejection, and I can see it on your faces, and it's too bad that you judge us by the way we look and not by who we are, just because you want us to be more like them, when the truth is we're not like them, and I'm damn proud of that fact.
Oh, oof.
That's
a mouthful.
I'm going to read it one more time.
Yeah, let's do
I'm
it.
an expert in rejection, and I can see it on your faces. And it's too bad that you judge us by the way we look and not by who we are, just because you want us to be more like them, when the truth is we're not like them. And I am damn proud of that fact.
Okay, so my first thought was super bad. Then my next thought was this is a Disney movie because the dialogue is a little kid friendly.
Okay. I am getting a different vibe from it.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting like a Bill Murray Stripes vibe.
Yeah.
I'm getting a Bill Murray Stripes vibe from
That's
this.
very specific. That's a very specific vibe.
Yeah, I'm totally blanking. I'm totally the lead Ghostbuster. I'm totally blanking right now. I'm gonna pull
Peter
up his
Venkman?
name. Say that again.
Peter Venkman, or was it Ray, or is it Egon, or Dr. Spangler, or
I'm totally blanking on
it.
It
Was
right
the bully
now.
one, the slimy monster ghost? That one.
No, Dan Aykroyd's character. But anyway, it feels like a Dan Aykroyd thing. So stance. There we go. I finally figured it out. Thanks for hanging in there with me, folks. It feels like it. I don't know. It also has Dan Aykroyd vibes. It definitely it's giving 80s sports movie energy that doesn't take itself seriously. But the only one that I can even think about is like the 90s movie Little Giants. I don't know if anybody has ever seen that.
I remember that movie.
That's
you mean the football
only
movie,
thing that's
Little
coming to mind to me right now.
Yeah.
Or the Big Green.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. I feel like Superbad was the first thing that came to mind because it sounded kind of kiddish and cornyish and like
okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of why I went the route of Superbad first. I honestly don't know what this is. Are we doing hints? Are we going with guesses? I'm willing to ride with Doug with the Bill Murray Stripes thing.
I'm ready to play the spread here. Just do 3 guesses. See what happens.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Stripes because that's the way that it feels.
All right. I'm gonna go Superbad.
Okay. All right. And Little Giants.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Gentlemen.
Let's see.
This is from the movie Accepted.
Oh, so I was kind of in that Jonah Hill.
You were close.
I was close.
You were close. You were in the right stratosphere. So this is from the 2006 movie Accepted. This is a quote from Justin Long as Bartleby Gaines. And it's basically his reason why they as a college should be accredited.
The South Harmon Institute of Technology.
The South Harmon.
Shit for short.
South Harmon Institute of Technology. So there you have it. That was a good quote, Roman. That's in our wheelhouse. Last week was
we got that. I've seen that movie. Jonah
I actually like that movie.
I feel like if we were Marcus, you were absolutely the closest. You called it right.
I feel like ask me about my wiener.
Yup, I remember that preview.
And I feel like it is a underrated comedy movie. Like I feel like a lot of people look at it and they're like,
yes,
it's missing some people I need. Like it's missing your Seth Rogens and your other folks, but it's a genuinely funny movie.
It
like this movie.
definitely, when it came out, I remember this was kind of like the up and comers movie. Like the only big name attached to it, I think, was Lewis Black. Like I feel like he was like one of the main headliners, and he was in it for maybe 10 minutes total of screen time.
Total, yeah. They got him
That
to be
was
the dean. Yeah.
Yeah, like that, and that was it. So it was kind of like one of those movies where it's like, okay, it's a launch pad, here we go. And I mean, Jonah Hill, like he did Justin Long. I feel like he didn't get to Jonah Hill level, but I mean, I think he benefited from it. I think is the best way to say it.
For sure.
Well, now he was in Barbarian, right?
He is in Barbarian,
or he's in Barbarian, right?
He's very good. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna plug Barbarian. I watched it
on HBO Max
last weekend. It's on HBO Max. Don't read anything about it. If you like scary movies, don't read a single thing about it and just go watch it. Like that's the highest praise I can give it.
It's on my list of things that I want to watch. And I was talking to Brian about it. Like, as someone who doesn't like scary movies, it has piqued my interest enough where I'm like, maybe I'll check it out. Still haven't yet, but stand by. I might check that out.
I mean,
watch it during the daytime.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you are challenged by horror or scary movies, definitely watch it in the daytime, because like I watch a lot of horror, and there were moments in this where I was like, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the pressure. It got me. It got me good.
I love that. Awesome. Well, appreciate as always the quote, Roman. And so if you would like to submit a quote, consider signing up for the Patreon. I know that I said at the beginning that I wasn't going to plug it, but if you would like to submit a quote, you should do that. I'm breaking my own rules.
Well, that's okay. If you're new here, like just check out our Patreon. It's a great way to get involved with the podcast. It's a way to support, and you can help move the direction of the show. So check out our Patreon or Films in Black and White.
Absolutely. Gentlemen and people listening, we are about to get into Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever. So this is your second warning for spoilers. If you have not seen the movie and you do not want to hear any spoilers about it, turn back now. We'll include timestamps in the podcast, the episode description. So please, if you don't want to know anything about it, turn back now, because we're going to talk about the movie.
Or dive head straight in. If you
live on the edge,
you just want to be a part of it, there's people that can hear spoilers all day and still watch a movie. If you're that kind of person, don't go nowhere. Because I'll be forgetting to come back. Like you leave to go watch it and you don't come back.
I am one of those people. I am one of those people where I will deliberately look at the spoiler and then be like, great, now I can enjoy the movie instead of waiting for that one thing that nobody could tell me about but happens in the movie.
That's like putting on wet socks to me. That's
it doesn't bug me.
I dodged TikTok for 24 hours before we watched the movie.
I didn't touch TikTok at all either.
Yeah.
I did too. Like for this one, I dodged TikTok a little bit longer than a little bit more than I usually do. But the problem is like I have such like goldfish energy with the things that I remember and I don't, is that like I can like read a spoiler and then move on to something else and forget what I just read. Because most of the time when I stumble upon it, I'm like zoning out anyway. I would never deliberately sit down to get a spoiler, but if it gets spoiled, it's probably going to get forgotten, so it's not like a big deal.
I feel you.
So, but gentlemen, before we get into the movie, I have one question for each of you, and this comes from an interesting discussion that Marcus and I had. Is we were kind of thinking about it because we got to the movie theater early, and as we saw the show before us walk out, Marcus kind of comments to me and he says, I wonder how many people are seeing the movie because they are curious about the tribute to Chadwick,
right?
And how many people are showing up to the movie just because it's an MCU like extension, basically. And so I'm curious, I probably already know the answer, but for our listeners, for you all, which one sort of like piqued your curiosity more? Or if it's equal, that's also fine. But which one sort of like piqued your curiosity more about this movie? The tribute and what they did with everything associated with Chadwick Boseman's passing, or the fact that it's a Marvel movie? Before we get into the discussion,
mine was strictly the tribute to Chadwick, and like the that portion of things. I almost forgot that this was a part of. I didn't forget it was a Marvel movie. I forgot that there was continuation that happens in this movie as what like that something is supposed to happen through this like a continuous thread. So for me, it was just the tribute portion.
Okay, interesting. Brian?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to answer because I was introduced to Chadwick Boseman's career and performances because of Black Panther. I did not know
Sure.
Chadwick Boseman before Black Panther. I knew Michael B. Jordan,
Sure.
and the actress that played Okoye, but I did not. Of course, Angela Bassett. But like I did not know Chadwick Boseman, so like obviously it hit. Like it still hits on an emotional level, but I mean I would say it was equal parts for me. I mean,
Fair.
like I don't know. I'm just more familiar with his Marvel like body of work. Obviously, like he's done a ton of other stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, it was the MCU portion, knowing that like you're gonna get hit in the feels with with grief and acknowledging it and moving on. That's probably the best way I can say it. That wasn't really eloquent, but like that's kind of where I was coming from.
That was good.
I think that was perfect because I think it's also perfect because I don't want to say that I wasn't interested in what they did and how they pulled it off. I think following the storyline, you couldn't not be curious as to how specifically Ryan Coogler and the other writers and producers on the movie were going to overcome this incredible barrier and unforeseen and terrible, experience for them and for everybody involved, like to have that happen. Yes. But I was very curious into, because this is technically the end of phase 4 in terms of movies. Yeah. I was curious as to where was the tone of this going to be as we understand it as a cinematic universe and where this sort of fit in. So it sort of piqued my curiosity there. I think the other thing that made me a little bit more desensitized to the portions of having Chadwick in the movie, because there are flashbacks in the movie, is I watched Black Panther 1 on Thursday.
Sure. Okay.
And so seeing him on screen sort of changed my mindset, like just a little bit of like, it's not as much of a shock for me because I didn't avoid it. Like I just, it is what it is. And so I sort of stood those up. So that's a little bit, maybe it's nothing. Maybe it isn't. I'm not saying that those moments weren't still powerful, but that also might have something to do with how the mindset that I brought going into it. So
that's really interesting that you saw it and felt. Let me know if I'm saying this right. You saw him in Black Panther 1, and it didn't take you by surprise that he wasn't in Black Panther 2. Is that kind of what you like? It didn't, not that it didn't take you by surprise, but it wasn't as, I don't know, like you weren't looking for him as much in Black Panther 2. Is that right?
I think it's I knew that he wasn't going to be in Black Panther 2. Like, so when he showed up, it wasn't like unexpected. Does that make sense? Like that it's not like unexpected. It's okay, he's passed. This makes sense thematically with the story, which we'll get into. Like it makes sense in how they did everything. So I think there's a lot of that there for me that's a little bit different. Not that I wasn't unbothered by not looking for him. I think but that's kind of where my brain was at.
That's very interesting because I felt the opposite. In fact, I felt as if he was going to make, it was almost like my brain was waiting for him to show up and make a surprise appearance. Like he's alive. You know what I mean? Like for me, my brain was like, oh, maybe I deal. There's two things I don't like: funerals and hospitals. There's two things I don't do well with, right? And so for me, it's like, it's like in my mind, I guess I was in denial. I'm in denial, and I'm hoping like, well, maybe he'll pop up at the end, or there'll be some type of, oh, he's not really gone. I don't know what I was expecting, but
interesting.
That was where my hit was at for a little bit.
I appreciate you sharing that. Like I really do, because I think that's a vulnerable moment of like this of where your brain was at. So I appreciate that 100%.
And I get it, Marcus, because like I want to say this the right way. I feel like this is a pretty sacred moment for like both comic book fans, but like movie fans, and like just there's a lot of feelings with how we're handling characters that pass or the actors who play them.
Yep.
And I was a little worried at one, like we were sitting in the theater and I was like, oh man, like I don't think they would do this, but I'm really worried they're gonna like Luke Skywalker this, and maybe like he'll be like I'm in space, and like you see him walk into a spaceship or something, and I was like,
yeah,
I don't know how that's gonna make me feel. I hope they don't do that. I don't think Ryan Coogler would do that.
No.
But I totally get what you're saying, Marcus. I'm like, are they gonna try to like movie magic this? Like, because that would feel weird, and that would make me feel certain things. But like, honestly, if you're familiar with the comics, Wakanda goes to space at one point, and like comics. But I mean, I was totally waiting for him being like, no, I'm gonna be in the stars and like have some type of metaphor there. I think it's actually really bold and brave. They did what they did, and maybe that's a good prologue for us to talk more about the movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that is a fantastic transition, Brian, and so I don't want to delay the discussion. So, anyone care to give us a barbershop summary? Is a barbershop summary appropriate in this instance? But does anybody want to try to barbershop or not give us a summary of Wakanda Forever?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
Unless Brian, you wanted it. You look like you were itchy. Oh, okay. Okay. So what had happened was this story picks up after. Okay, I'm gonna just give you the movie synopsis. I'm not gonna give you context. Okay, the movie kicks off with Shuri. Okay, Shuri's in her lab, and she's in a lab full of people, and they are frantic. They are trying to figure this thing out, and you hear this AI voice, which is funny enough, voiced by Trevor Noah. You hear this AI voice, and TikTok just reveals everything.
That's amazing.
Like, how the hell did y'all know that? But anyway, so they're frantic. They're trying to figure something out, and you see Shuri running around and asking this AI, like, what is the probability of success, or like, what is the confidence level in this percentage thing? And it's low. It's like 20%, 19%, something like that. It was like super duper low every time she tried to do it. It looks like she's trying to remake this herb, this heart-shaped herb, which, if you know, they burned all of the rest of the heart-shaped herb in the first Black Panther, so there was nothing there. It's being inferred that, similar to real life, T'Challa is sick. There's something something was happening, and then trying to find this cure for T'Challa. He's on his deathbed. Somebody the AI is telling him, like, hey, I think you need to be with your brother at this time. You know, it's getting close to that time. She's like, no. They get this probability that's maybe like 23%. It's something very low, but she says to print it anyway, right? So they go and they try to print the heart-shaped herb. She tries to take it up to her brother, and sees her mom walk through the door, and she says T'Challa is passed. Now, here's a moment that almost got me. There's a dead silence in the opening Marvel credit where it's all Chadwick Boseman credit sequences. And I thought that was just powerfully done. No sound. So then you go, and the movie is then taken a year forward. Okay, so they go a year forward, and they're trying to catch people exactly a year from T'Challa's death and see where people are. Shuri's in this lab covered with, surrounded by a whole bunch of people in this lab. They're all doing type of work. And what she makes this line about, they're all predicting the probability of issues, and they're trying to find solutions to these issues, which I feel like something to do with the grief that she has about her brother, right? And so they go, and her mom comes, and she says, do you know what the day is? And she says, yes, it's T'Challa's death day, the death of her brother. So she says, we need to go through the process. I need you to follow me. You need to leave all your shit behind. So they go to this beach in Wakanda, and her mom is telling her, you need to mourn. Like, you need to mourn. We need to finish this process of mourning by burning our robes, mind you, there's a funeral scene in there before the flashback. So she tells them, like, we need to burn our robes to finish the mourning process. So she says, well, I can't do that because in like lesser terms, she basically says, how do you know the ancestors exist? They took this from me. I prayed to the ancestors, and the ancestors did not listen. And so I don't know if there's ancestors, because the mom was like, well, I feel your brother on my shoulder. He's guiding me. He's leading me. And she tells him, well, no, that's not what that is. That's you making some shit up in your head to cope with what's going on in life. And so Shuri is basically like a non-believer, and she's not really fucking with it. And so she doesn't burn her robe. She says, I can't do it. I want to burn the world down. So then this fish motherfucker pops up out of the water, and it turns out in an earlier scene, right? Namor pops up out of the water, and he has this big ass machine that he bought with him, because earlier in the movie they had a vibranium tracker, and the big conversation in the movie is, we heard what you said, the king is dead. Y'all keep trying to invade Wakanda for all the vibranium. And what we're not going to do is let that happen. So they embarrass a bunch of mercenaries in the UN who belong to one of the people complaining. I think it was one of the French.
It was the French
UN ambassador, right?
Absolutely.
And she was like, ain't these your people? Brought them in front of the UN, made them kneel, and was like, there, now take them with you. Take the garbage out with you. I see what the fuck y'all doing. Our king is not dead. So basically they've been looking for vibranium in the other parts of Wakanda, and so they found some in the ocean, and these top spies end up getting their ass whooped by who people thought were Wakandans. They weren't Wakandans. They were, what is the name of Namor's people?
Yeah,
Could somebody
I'll,
look that up?
I'll look that up.
Thanks. So Namor and his people and his crew, they went and they killed all their asses, right? They killed everybody on that ship. Namor popped up out the water on Queen Ramonda and Shuri, telling them basically, hey, they looking for vibranium. I found this vibranium tracker. I need you to find the scientists or all hell gonna break loose. All right. So if you don't find the scientists who made the shit, all hell gonna break loose. Well, ta-da, the scientist who made the shit is Riri Williams. All right. And she's at MIT. So they have to go, they track her down and say, listen, people are gonna come for you because you made this machine by accident that can track vibranium. And so now the CIA is looking for the scientists to recreate it. So they got to protect Riri Williams in this. There's a huge fight that breaks out between Wakanda and Namor's people, okay? And so they're fighting to protect Riri Williams, and then in the process, they end up kidnapping Shuri and Riri Williams, all right? They take them down. He takes them to his palace and his place in his crib, and he shows them all of the shit, and he's like, listen, I have to kill the scientists because I got to protect my people, and I'm showing you all the shit so you can see what I have to protect. And Shuri's like, I can't let you do that. Let her come back to Wakanda with us. He says, I can't do that. I don't trust y'all like that. In the meantime, they get freed because, Nakia, is she comes and she's a spy and she comes and saves them all, right? Okay, so she goes and she saves Shuri. Then they feel invaded and she's like, well, Namor is like, we've been exposed. He also explained his name, which is it's not Namor like a Western term, it's Namor, which means no love. Okay, and so he gives his whole backstory, which is a beautiful backstory, right? And so they get back on line. It's a giant fight that breaks out. All right. In this fight, Namor comes to Wakanda. He kills he's drowned in Wakanda, right? They got these water bombs. He then goes and he doesn't kill the queen. It's said that the queen Ramonda sacrificed herself to save Riri Williams. Okay. So that is kind of how that's kind of what the twist is. And so Queen Ramonda dies and Riri Williams survives, and then it's just Shuri now. And so Shuri had to bury her brother, now she has to bury her mother, and then she's going through this process of grieving. She keeps telling people the Black Panther is dead, the Black Panther is dead, and then the Black Panther is alive. She finds a way to recreate this heart-shaped herb. She goes, she has a vision, she meets Killmonger. Killmonger tells you are not your brother, you more me than you are your brother, and your mom sacrificed herself, don't take that from her, and you want to burn this shit down, take it with force. And so she goes and she's carrying all of this weight, this heaviness with her, and she goes and carries that into her leadership as the Black Panther into this battle where these two go head to head, and they got to figure out what type of leader is Shuri.
Yep.
Yeah. Talokan is the name of the kingdom.
Talokan.
So I was going to say, they refer to them as Talokanils, like Talokanils or Nils, Talokanils, but
Talokanils.
The reason there's not a whole lot of like reference material on this is because they made Talokan just for Wakanda Forever. So technically, like usually we would be referring to them as Atlanteans, but that doesn't exist in the MCU.
Correct. Yep. They've kind of made their own story, which I appreciate. So absolutely phenomenal synopsis, Marcus.
Yeah,
so I appreciate you synthesizing.
There's a lot going on in this movie, and I feel like you covered it pretty well.
Really well.
It's a lot going on. Yeah, which brings me to my first point. It's a lot going on in this movie.
Absolutely.
And so for me, what my first thought was, I don't feel like my mom called me and was like, Marcus, have you seen now? This was my mom act like she old, but she talk old. So she called me this morning. She said, Marcus, did you see the Panther movie? And I said, yes, I saw the Panther movie. She said,
I love that.
What did you think? And I told her, I said, well, I really felt like it was too much for me to take in immediately afterwards, that I feel like I didn't have time to cry or catch up with my emotions in the process.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Yep. I get that.
That was a weird dead space. It was just a lot of it's Shuri's story. Then you got to get introduced to Namor, then the Namor's people, and these are all, mind you, compelling stories. And for you to be a director that can give this much character development to this many characters at one time, it's going to be a jam-packed movie, because you're trying to introduce a new character, you're trying to push a side character into the role of a leading character and develop them quick enough to take up that mantle while also trying to fix the surrounding shit. It was just a lot for me in my first time watching it.
Well, and it moves at a breakneck speed too.
Yeah.
Like at no point did I look at my watch during this movie, and this movie is like 2 hours and 43 minutes.
Very close
So
to 3.
this
Yep.
is not a shorter Marvel jaunt here. And they made it move
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
well. Like I
Yeah.
was really impressed by that because there's so much ground to cover. And I think that I think that's why the beginning is so poignant and stands out to me just from like a filmmaking perspective, because the movie knows we have to deal with Chadwick Boseman's absence and
Yep.
the T'Challa Black Panther absence, and it goes straight into it. It doesn't ease you in. It just
Nope.
it throws it right in your face, and it's done in like, I didn't look at my watch, but I would say you're at the Marvel credit roll within 5 minutes, and you're sitting with
that's a
you're
7-minute
sitting with
movie
these
tops.
feelings of like, I'm sad. So I cried 3 times in this movie, and the first 2 were within the first 10 minutes. And that
damn.
silent Marvel banner clip. Woo, wow,
Heavy.
that was powerful.
That was heavy.
Yeah.
Well done, because it happens. That moment of silence for Chadwick happens twice in this movie.
Yep.
Once in the beginning and once in the end, when they're doing both, and both of them are flashback sequences of him just doing stuff and being there, smiling, being T'Challa. Those were 2 very heavy moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems to me that if I were to take myself and put myself in the brain of Ryan Coogler, it seems to me that if it's, and I'm just inferring from like the sequences, it seems to me he had 2 sort of objectives. One is, how do I deal with Chadwick's passing, and how do I convey that this character that everybody knows is no longer there? I'm going to take how I feel, which is chaotic, not really sure what the direction is, not really sure what we're supposed to do with it, and really just everybody trying to process that moment. And I'm going to write that into the first 7 minutes of this movie. That to me is the moment, like Shuri almost feels in that first sequence before the credit roll that she is a placeholder for how Ryan Coogler felt as he was trying to figure out how he was supposed to create it, right? Is that
and he had his family helping too.
Yeah. Talking about, is he a match? Is this going to fit? Is it going to work? Like, those are all internal dialogue questions that I can pick up directly from the director. And what I think makes moments of this movie so masterfully done is that piece of it overall.
Right.
And then the other part of it is they can't be sad if they're having fun. And so that seems to be like rule number 2, which is, once they do the moment of silence and you get through the passing sequence, like the funeral sequence, keep them entertained, keep them laughing, keep them smiling, keep them as distracted as possible. Because if we have any lulls, that's where people are going to be like, oh, it's not Chadwick, or that's not, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be doing that. So it seems to me that if I were to put myself in those positions, like, those would be the 2 like goals or objectives that I would have with this overall. And Brian or Marcus, to your point, there are 12 conservatively 12 main characters.
Okay.
Who are people who get considerable screen time. So Letitia Wright plays Shuri. Lupita Nyong'o plays Nakia. Danai Gurira plays Okoye. Winston Duke is back as M'Baku. Angela Bassett's back as Ramonda. Tenoch Huerta is playing Namor.
Deal with these names.
Martin Freeman plays Everett Ross. Dominique Thorne plays Riri. Then Florence Kasumba plays Ayo. Then Michael Coyle gets into Anika. Then there's Alex Livanali plays Atuma.
Michaela Cole. Yes.
And Mabel Cadena plays Namora. Those are the people who are getting consistent screen time in this whole movie. Not to mention the other folks like the Julia Louis-Dreyfuses who are like, oh shit, she's back again. Like, there are conservatively a lot of people you have to keep track of. So Marcus, your point of like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like,
it's a lot. And here's my thing, to go back to the grieving portion, right? I do want to remember and put in my 2 cents and my interpretation of this, right? Black people grieving is different than normal grieving. I was explaining to somebody how my uncle we had 3 funeral services. You have the viewing of the body, the homecoming service, and then the second service. Okay. That's 3 services. And so I also think that when it comes to grieving, the laughing, the memories, that kind of, there's a process to it. And a lot of that, what they were doing in the movie, was a lot of how I probably would have handled grief in real life. It's a lot of the laughing, it's a lot of the memories, it's a lot of you are going to have the lulls of grief. You're also going to have these moments where you want to avoid the whole thing. You're also going to have these moments where you got to take it head on. And so I do think, I don't know if this movie followed the stages of grief like that. It seemed to follow the acceptance and denial. It seemed to follow those typical stages of grief. But for me, that was what made this movie relatable. Was it wasn't all sad. It kind of puts you in and out of what maybe realistic emotions are, especially when you're running a kingdom. Everything does not stop. That's the hard part about losing people, is like your world may come to a screeching halt, but the world around you doesn't. So what happens when you are a world nation with vibranium and Queen Ramonda, who's lost her husband and her son, and has to protect her nation all at the same damn time? That's a lot to deal with just for one character. So how the fuck do you do that with half of the cast who's Wakanda and then another half who's being introduced in a whole new storyline?
Yeah, I mean, that moment where Queen Ramonda is yelling at yelling at her and saying, "Tell me I haven't already given enough." That is a phenomenal
award-winning scene.
I mean, to be honest with you, at least in like like an Academy Award nominated emotive performance like that, I felt every ounce of her pain when she was like, "Don't tell me you've sacrificed everything." Like that was such a powerful moment.
I mean,
and I wanted to be like she was and she acted her ass off. Like the embodiment of a queen. She did that. To be not just a queen, but a strong mother in a house that is mourning and in a nation that is mourning. You have to be the one to stand the fuck up and make these decisions, still lead your people while you're doing your own grieving, trying to bring your daughter through her grieving. Definitions of strong, powerful women and which this movie is 98, 97% women of color. Leading this movie.
They are.
It's like kudos, like hell yeah.
No, I mean, Angela Bassett, in my opinion, turned in the best performance. I'm gonna be bold here. It's probably the best performance in the MCU. Like there are some really good moments in the MCU. There are still pivotal and emotional moments, but like from a pure acting craft, I don't think anyone comes close to what Angela Bassett is bringing to Black Panther. And it pains me that we're not going to see her in the MCU again, because she is just a force of nature. But on the other hand, I mean, if she had to go out, like if her character has to be removed from the narrative,
that's the way.
This is the way. I mean, there's no word. She's amazing. She's I mean, I don't know. I don't have the words for it, but she's certainly brought a gravity to this film where you didn't think you needed it after everything we already have to move through with the loss of T'Challa, and here comes Angela Bassett just acting her ass off. It's amazing.
Yeah.
One of those moments where it didn't feel like a Marvel movie in that instance.
I would agree.
Because somebody made a comment on TikTok where they were like, usually Black people say this acting for slave movies. And I laughed because I was like, yep, that's kind of accurate though, right? When you get those award nominations, you usually have to be in a 12 years of slave type of role to get that type of exertion and that type of energy out. But to see this in a Marvel movie, those are one of the moments where I felt like, oh, this feels like a little bit more than a Marvel movie. It's where I felt like Thor: Love and Thunder could have taken me. If
and didn't.
It had taken itself a little bit more serious.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, we'll get into this later. But like compared to other Marvel projects, it's like it's on a completely different plane of existence to me.
I will say, like, I really you again, I cannot say. I mean, Brian, you really said everything that I could say about Angela Bassett's performance. Like, really, just truly, like on another level. I think it's why I wanted her character to come back at the end. So this is one of those like
I
I
agree.
might have done it differently type of moments. Like that final battle scene, like on the beach, and Marcus and I kind of talked about this on the way back. But like, I kind of wish I kind of wish, especially because of the relationship that Shuri and Queen Ramonda had developed over the course of that whole movie. I kind of wanted her to show up again, but for it to be a quick, like, show them who they are, I wanted it just a smidgen more. Like, like, just give me more time with her, especially in that like ancestral plane portion. Again, what we got was fine, and I'm being greedy by wanting to see more of her performance of this character. But like, and it's very nitpicky, so I acknowledge that. But she did such an outstanding job that I just wanted to see the two of them interact more, and as much as possible.
I want to see the Ryan Coogler cut. Because I feel but I do feel it's like
Marcus back on his bullshit again.
Empowering directors.
Cut out of this movie though, right? Because you're already at 2 hours and 41 minutes.
Yeah,
I can only imagine. I have to imagine that there are more scenes with Shuri and Queen Ramonda, because it did feel kind of premature when they get to the. So one of my gripes with this is, with the movie, is it something timeline wise felt off. Like if I could take the snippet, pick it up, and put it in a different area, I would take Shuri's fight for me at the end. I didn't feel really fulfilled with the fight at the end, because it felt like when she got introduced to Killmonger, she took that and ran with it up until the last 5, maybe like 2 minutes of that fight.
She took it, ran with it, and then immediately walked away. Like,
and then it was like, for me, it was like, so he was right, because you was winning, you did everything you were supposed to, and then in the last second, you bring back Queen Ramonda to say, show them who you are, and I felt like it wasn't as heroic enough for me to, because it wasn't that comeback moment of like, now she gets it, now's the point where she wins. Maybe that was done on purpose, but I felt like timeline wise, I would have loved to finish that scene with Killmonger. Right,
sure.
You finish that whole scene. You don't need an alternate. You don't need the continuous flashback on the back end. And then at the end, she with a point where she's dying, about to pass out, she meets her mom, and she maybe meets her dad or whoever she wants to meet there, and that is the moment she needs to like be propelled into being the new Black Panther. That's what I would have preferred.
Yeah, I agree. I would have preferred that as well.
I think I don't think it's a critique. And this is a yes and Marcus, like yes, and I'm surprised how the third act unfolded, only because of the tone at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
I for sure thought, and not to make everything about Star Wars, and I feel like I could get like a bumper sticker for the podcast here, but not to make everything about Star Wars, but I definitely thought they were going to Return of the Jedi this. I definitely thought she would walk up to Namor and she'd be like, no, like, I'm not going to fight you. Like, that's the absolutely wrong thing to do in this situation. However, I am sad. I think it's a really hard balance, because there were some satisfying things of like seeing Shuri just be super angry and obviously have nowhere to go with her rage and anger and take it out on Namor, who clearly like was a part of her mother's death. Very clearly.
Correct.
There. And like, I don't know about you all. We're talking about the end of the movie. We've barely covered the second half.
There's a lot to cover, so we went right to
it. I like the moment when she's impaled by the vibranium pike.
Spear.
I was taken aback, and I know this is comic book movies, but I was like, oh no, like, oh damn, like they're doing this. Like, are they really gonna kill off like all of like
T'Challa? Oh god,
people in this family? Like, are we really gonna do this? And of course, in my head, I got some sense. I was like, no, that's the thesis of this movie is not gonna be Ryan Coogler being like, they all die. Like, that's obviously not what Ryan Coogler wants. But it was still shocking, and it still shocked me to the point of the story that okay, like, yeah, like maybe vengeance isn't the best way to go because you got a huge vibranium staff sticking out of your abdomen. Like maybe we should rethink things. But
Yeah.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, Marcus, because like I don't have a good answer for it. Because with the themes of the movie, you'd think Shuri would be like, what are we doing? We gotta like work together. They're coming for us, and not, but how you reconcile that, I get why they went this direction.
Yeah. Agreed. I kind of, and I think that this is kind of going back to the point that we made earlier of like, there's just a lot to keep track of. There were just a lot of pieces to have to do something with, and you can't have a character like Namor in the movie and then not do something with him at the end. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you set this up and build this whole movie as the two of them fight, and then you can't leave it there and not have them fight. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think you're a little limited by the formula, to be honest with you, a little bit.
I absolutely thought the finale of this movie was
kissing?
going. What'd you say?
Was them kissing?
No, I did not think they're. I didn't think they would romance each other.
I got that romantic vibe when they were on a date.
They were 100% on a date when he took her to the city. 100%. He picked her up. They went into the city. He showed her the around. Yeah.
This is my crib. This is where I rub my feet. This is where my pearls lay.
These are my friends. Like, what's up? But like, I definitely thought the movie was setting up like a CIA villain, antagonist, or task force. Like, I thought we were gonna be like just knocking off like masked CIA agents on a ship, and that's definitely where I thought this was going. And the surprise would be that Namor's folks would come help the Wakandans or something like that. Did not actually think the finale would be like legit Namor versus Shuri, Wakanda versus the Sea People.
Talokan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
The fight scene was the battle scene was kind of anticlimactic. Okay, and here's to me, and I need to watch it again. This is for my first.
Okay.
Review. It's because you had to Aquaman it, and what's funny is you have to put Namor near water. Okay, I get it. I get it. This is what half the movie is about. All of a sudden, Wakanda has beaches. There was no water in the first film, except for the fight scene. And no, that's a lie. I'm just joking. But so you have Namor. The fight scene is restricted to the boat. Okay.
Right.
And the boat is such small surface area, and it's a million of them, and it's just a few of them.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like that King Kong versus Godzilla fight scene in the water too. You know what
yes.
I mean? Like you're fighting on this little ship, and it's like you two action figures can only go so far within this thing. So for me, I was expecting a little bit more. And then when they pop up and they say Wakanda Forever and Imperious Rex, well, no, he doesn't. He says that to Shuri, but they say their version of Wakanda Forever. It just kind of felt like that's it.
Yep,
and that was it. And
also,
I was like,
not what I
expected.
Also, not what I expected when they are literally strategizing in that section before that. It's like, oh, we'll draw him into somewhere remote. I was like, that is not, that is like the middle of the ocean is not remote for this man. I thought you meant like some island that you found on a map that no one else knew about. Like, that's what I thought.
And they were dropping all these tools off in Antarctica. And I was like, oh, okay, they're going to build like a Jurassic Park type cage to make it a ring fight or some shit.
Yeah.
And then they ended up on a boat with no ice. I didn't see where the ice went. And then I was like, well, what the fuck happened? When did we change scenery? I don't know what happened.
I had a lot of questions.
I mean, look, I get it. They wanted to take the fight to them, but as a military strategy, it's like, all right, we're gonna play to their strengths. We're gonna go straight to their strengths.
Where should we go? Middle of
but also, I get it. At the same time, they're just trying to dry out Namor and have everybody surrender. So I do understand, like, okay, we just gotta hold the line, and then we just dry out the fish guy, and then we go home. But we all saw how that turned out.
Yeah, it was fine. But the movie is good. Not wrapping it up. I just want to say that was the end. What are some points in the middle I feel like we're missing some?
Well,
I like Riri Williams. I do want to bring up Riri Williams and just say I love her as a character, and I like the vibe that she brought to this movie and the realism of being a fish, no pun intended, fish out of water in between two worlds. She made something by accident for her science teacher, and now she's stuck between two of these like nations that will do anything for their own nation.
Yeah.
I mean, I did see somebody say that is a similar plot to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that there is a child that has a unique talent that someone who is an antagonist would like to take and destroy because of that talent. And so the protagonist is protecting that child from the antagonist for the majority of the movie.
Yeah.
But I really liked her. I'm being flippant, but that
you're fine.
But I think that is, she was fantastic. I loved the role that she had in the movie. I love the character and the energy that she brought. I also really appreciated that they decided to go like the college route with her.
Yes.
Because I really was worried that they were going to pigeonhole her as like this is another high schooler. So I really appreciated that they decided to say like, no, she's in college, like, and she's 19. Like, I really appreciated that. I thought that was a different perspective. Otherwise, it was going to be like I felt like they could have gone too Peter Parker-y again with it.
Well, I think if I'm looking timeline wise, she's in college. Peter would be in college, so her and Peter are around the same age.
Yep.
In theory,
so they'll age out around the same. They'll age out around the same when they meet, quote unquote. Yeah. When he meets a new Ironheart or this next version of Iron Man, at some point they'll run into each other. They'll be the same age. Not that matters now, but the Young Avengers are all here. Every male counterpart, every male Avenger now has a female alternative counterpart now in the MCU.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I was thinking of Cap, but that there's a lot happening there too. I don't want to get bogged down.
Maybe not Cap. Yeah.
But you're right. You're right.
Yeah, there's an equivalent for sure.
Yeah,
there's absolutely an equivalent. I totally agree with that. I think honestly, I really liked all the Riri Williams stuff, and I liked that this. I don't know if it was on. I think it was on purpose, but I really like how they just were kind of like, Shuri like needs a foil that isn't Okoye, because Okoye is just, it's too, like, Okoye is great, but her and Shuri, like, there's the dynamic there. They're not exactly foils, and I feel like Riri was a great addition to that cast that really like brought that dynamic together and almost gave Shuri like a little sister. And I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, well, what you see in this what to me, and it could be overreading, but what I saw what happened was they have this little quick dialogue of like, who taught you everything that you know? And she says, my brother. And so that is when Shuri becomes the older person to look up to, because if you think about it, she is now the oldest one in her family and the most wise, if I'm thinking about it like that. And so now it's up to her automatically to pass that wisdom down to Riri Williams and help people just like her brother did for her and her mother did for her at the same time.
Well, and I think to your point, Brian, I think the reason why that Shuri and Okoye can't have that is because Okoye is too close, too similar to her brother. Like, and so I think there's those two were like around the same age. They kind of had the same mindset on things. They both went through something pretty significant with the events of the first Black Panther. So I think it's hard for Shuri and Okoye to have that same relationship. So I think the two of you put it together really well, of like, it does have to be different. And she does have to step down and take on that little more of that like mentor role, which I really appreciated. So I thought that was good.
Yeah. And also being stripped of her general role, that was a tough scene to watch.
That was
intense. That was intense. And I wanted to be bad. I wanted to be mad at Queen Ramonda, but when she started laying them facts out, and I was like, although I was like, well, it was Shuri's fault because she did say she wanted to split up, but that ain't important at the time. It's a time and a place. Like, you don't say that shit right there when the Queen is talking.
Yeah. No, I felt like I was in trouble. Like, I felt like I needed to personally apologize to Angela Bassett, and I Miss Bassett, I apologize. I'm so sorry. But like, that's how it made me feel. Like it and just, oh my gosh, we've already talked about that sequence, but it says something that we're coming back to it again about how powerful it was. The one thing I'll say, the other thing about Riri Williams and Ironheart was that I liked how, I don't know, this movie didn't tease. I don't feel like it was a big tease. Like, it did feel like a fully fleshed out story for her. And on top of it, you get to see the tricked out Ironheart armor, which was like, that was awesome. That was excellent. And I'm really happy we got to see it. And I know that for her like TV show, we're going to get a different version of that, but I like seeing that.
I mean, if you're really into Mega Man, it's perfect for you.
Which I
Like,
am.
if you're really
I love
into
Mega
Man,
Man.
if you're
I do
really
like Mega
into
Man.
Mega Man, then
I do
that
like Mega
suit
Man.
was
Hey.
100% you. And that is, again, I think given the conversation, I hope we get a different version. I wasn't a huge fan of the suit. It doesn't detract from the movie, and it's not a reason to not like the movie. I just think it's I wasn't a huge fan. Some people liked it. I was like, I don't know how to feel about it.
It
There
was a
something
little
about the
like
head or shoulders I didn't like.
It was like Eve from Wall-E in the face a little bit.
Ooh,
Like
yeah.
it was just
I
kind
get
of
that.
like too cartoony. I would have preferred if they would have went a more practical route with the suit. It looked like all of it. Yeah, just a little bit, just a little. It felt a little too. It looked a little too perfect, if I'm being honest.
It
Like a
wasn't
little too slick.
modular. It
Yeah.
wasn't
No.
super
Well, yeah,
modular like the Mark 43 suit or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
The Robert Downey Jr. suits. That's what
Yeah.
I'll say. You can very much tell there are pieces that go together and that come off. And with the Ironheart suit, it was just like it was streamlined and slick, which is exactly what I would expect from Wakandan engineers. They'd be like, why would you have all this air resistance? What do you do? No, we're gonna make it smooth. Like, what's wrong with you?
Now I like her quote unquote Iron Man cave suit version. I thought
like that.
the chase scene through the city, I really liked that suit because there were so many comparisons to Iron Man 1 and so many homages that you paid back into that I just fucking loved. And I think that Ryan Coogler did really well with paralleling these two without a single mention of Iron Man.
No,
I don't know if anybody else noticed.
Like they just didn't bring it up.
Like they didn't bring up Tony. Like the only mention I can remember is the police. By the way, we're coming back.
Iron Man suit.
We're gonna
we gotta touch.
all they
Brian,
say
we
is
gotta touch on the police. Don't worry, we know we gotta touch on it.
But all they say is like she's got an Iron Man suit, but that's it. That's like shorthand to bring everybody up in case this is your first Marvel movie. Anyway, it might be for the Roundup Spectacular, but anyway, that was the only reference.
I also appreciated that. You know what this, and this is all inference because it's not all like super laid out. Someone other than Stark Enterprises made an arc reactor. Like that's, I mean, they made, she made this in a garage. Like
I knew that was coming
out of technology. So I think it's impressive that she was able to do that. And again, it highlights her intelligence that she was able to figure that out herself. But what that means for Armor Wars and what that also means for her own series, I think is really, really cool to pick up on that. Like, wow, she was able to figure this out. She's going to be a hot commodity for anyone who's looking to create an Iron Man army, an Iron Man armor. So I think that's, we might even see a Justin Hammer again. So I'm really,
I don't want to go.
So.
I hope so too, because he's such a good character.
Awesome.
I think that Ironheart, not to get too deep into that because that'll come later. I think that her series is going to be a little bit better for me. If I have to do a direct comparison, it would be Miss Marvel, and I think that it'll be a little bit better telling of a younger Avenger player story because she has a different type of maturity and a different type of sauce to her. As Riri Williams. That isn't as innocent and it isn't as careful. It's a little bit more. It's a little bit more exposed. Like she's a hero. When she was talking shit, she was selling this. She was selling to people. She doing their homework, doing their projects, and all this other stuff like that. Up until she ran into the Wakanda, then all of a sudden you see her back down a little bit, which I really enjoyed that kind of respect for Wakanda.
And even to a point though, like. Back down, but not so much to tell like someone you identify as the general of the Door of Milaje that she has an ashy ass forehead. So like not even so much that she like didn't dial that back down. So like I think like again, she still lets her personality fly even in moments that are high tension. So I think that's such a cool thing to see in a character.
And by the way, that to me is how you do humor in a Marvel movie. I don't feel like like some of the other examples I know that I've talked about before, but like nobody was like fumbling with a receiver or no one was having trouble pushing a button. Like it was pertinent to the character, authentic and believable, and it was something everybody could relate. Like it seems Ryan Coogler I feel like he can do this effortlessly,
He's
and I'm
the
sure it takes
culture.
a lot of work, but
It's
like
the culture. Oh man,
I
that guy
mean,
embodies
it
the
hit on
culture,
all
man.
cylinders. It got a huge laugh out of our audience as Okoye is trying to figure out her makeup in the middle of this movie, which is like it was funny. It was great. It landed.
I mean, the comment made me very self-conscious about my own bald head, so I appreciate where they went with it.
And I like the Fenty reference too.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Shuri said. I was like, oh, okay, I see you, Rihanna.
Yep.
I also so let's talk about the police for a second. She straight up firebombs the police. Like,
yeah.
Well, the police get a lot of like I feel like it's pretty incredible for a Marvel movie to be like, oh yeah, fuck the police. Like, we're just gonna straight up firebomb them in the middle of a movie, and no one was like, hold on, Ryan, are you sure? Like,
yeah. Well, and I feel like I don't know. It's hard to believe that like Falcon and the Winter Soldier exist in the same timeline as Wakanda Forever, where Riri literally takes like a surveillance tool and smashes it at the state, which incredible imagery there, by the way. So I think it shows either Ryan Coogler can do that, and that's great, or it shows that Disney's like, all right, we got to like we got to loosen up on some of the stuff that we're asking them to do and with their vision and stuff like that. It's one of the two, and I don't know what it is.
I think the other thing is that, again, we'll save this for like the Marvel Spectacular that we'll do later this month. But I do want to put like a little like trick or treat tease out there, which is I do feel like one enemy that we need to acknowledge in phase 5 is going to be the government. Like there is no way that you don't see the actions that Valentina takes in this particular movie. Also knowing that the Thunderbolts are out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I said this to Marcus. I was like, oh, so the Thunderbolts are going to be your destabilizing agents that go in and, fuck some shit
100%.
up because it's three super soldiers and a spy. So that's how it's going to be for everybody. So I think it's pretty incredible. Like that's laying some really cool foundation. So I think, Brian, to your point of like, they're going to have to, like, at some point in time, they're going to have to.
So make sure to tune back in for our Marvel Spectacular. You heard me call it the Marvel Roundup Spectacular, but what that means is we're going to go over everything phase 4 except for the holiday. We'll cover the holiday special. We're going to cover the holiday special. So tune back in. That's going to be our, if you're listening in podcast format, that is going to be November 30th. That's when that episode comes out. If you can catch us live via Patreon, we'll be live streaming that November 28th at 8 p.m. on all the socials, and we're gonna go through it, all of it. Like one of the things I'm doing right now is labeling when the government is an antagonist or villain in all 18 of these projects, and you better believe it. I'm gonna label it on this sheet.
Brian's doing the Lord's work
right now. We're up to 4 projects, and I'm not even looking at this seriously, but like we're up to 4 to 5 projects that the government is an antagonist or a villain. So the U.S. government, I guess, is what I should say.
That's a better one. Yeah.
So we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, we will.
But yeah, do we feel like this is a good time to bring up Valentina? Is this a good time to bring up Everett?
Yeah, probably
might as well.
All right, because one, there's a bombshell, a little bit of meta bombshell, a meta story bombshell that Valentina, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Everett Ross, played by Martin Freeman, they were married. So that's a connection there. Second, Valentina is head of the CIA, which is a red flag for me. And then we got Everett Ross here, who's basically trying to do everything he can to be a good ally, right? A good white ally of like feeding every the information they need, and the system takes him down because the system doesn't stand for that.
I was just gonna say, like, not even like. Yes, he's being a good ally, but he's also just trying to be a good person. Like,
yes, he is.
They
a good agent at that.
Right. Yeah. They saved my life. I'm going to try and repay the favor because I owe them. Like that is totally just trying to make sure the scales are balanced out. And again, the system doesn't want them to be balanced.
No.
Well, the fact that the government doesn't know what the fuck is going on the entire movie. You get glimpses of them being like, we think it's Wakandans, and then one person in the room is like, no, I heard it wasn't Wakandans. Then they was like, well, who was it? And he was like, well, we don't know.
I mean, we don't know.
We got these blue
Flashback to
people.
Wakanda, and it was like, okay. I mean, I guess like that's cool. So
Yeah.
very random, very random.
Also, I'm gonna say something, and it's unpopular, potentially. I think if you had to, like, if someone was like, Doug, you are now editing this movie, and if you don't cut something out, the whole studio is going to explode. Like that, I would cut the Everett Ross story.
Oh,
yeah, I didn't really need it.
You didn't need
Yeah,
it.
that's an easy cut.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's a good call, but almost I would take Valentina out too. I didn't need any of that, but you have to have some type of continuous thread through this movie, which is where the Phase 4 comes in at. Because up until this point, we don't know who what's her name?
Valentina. We don't know who she is.
Valentina. We don't know who she is or who she worked for. She just be popping up. I thought she worked for SHIELD or SWORD or something else like that. Turned out she's a CIA person.
Yeah, I mean, like, we knew it was some shadowy government agency in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and enough connections to pull Yelena out to go do dirty work, essentially. So I do feel like this is the first time it was confirmed she was a U.S. government operative, and the first time that we even knew she was with the CIA. So the fact that she's had this ascent to power in Phase 4 should not be. Definitely shouldn't be ignored. And we've talked about it in other previous episodes that she's maybe going to be one of the big bads here.
I mean, she can still be Madam Hydra. Like, it's still very possible.
All right, I'm going to shoot my shot. My wild ass theory right now is that she's Madam Hydra. She absolutely has a connection to Red Skull. She saw the downfall of S.H.I.E.L.D. and she plotted, and we're going to get some type of backstory that she's been working in the background this entire time to, like, have this rise to power, make her own Avengers team, and basically be like, we couldn't do it as Hydra, so we're just going to be the Avengers, but Hydra Avengers, essentially. That is what her end game is. That is my out there theory that I can't base any of it on, but that is where she's going.
Oh, Brian, I'm reading a whole comic book storyline that you could use. You could take pieces of and you could back end it and make it fit.
Right.
Like, it's not hard. Like, you could use components of Secret Empire to be like, and if she says Secret Empire in any type of line, I'm going to shit a brick in the middle of the theater.
Honestly, like, if she does say, that'd be cool.
She's like, I'm just trying to create my own little secret empire and be like, get fucked. I'm out. Like, I can't handle it.
I mean, at this point, like, when someone was like, can you imagine the U.S. having the wealth of vibranium that Wakanda has? And she goes, it's all I dream about. I'm like, all right, folks, like, we're on deck. This is a red alert situation. We got Madam Hydra getting vibranium. I don't know.
It's big red flag.
It's go time.
Break up with this one. Break up with this one.
Yep.
Big red flag.
I want to bring up the other piece that I want to spend time on is I do want to spend some time on Namor. Like, I do want to spend just a smidgen of time because I gotta be honest with you, I really, really, really enjoyed what Ryan Coogler did and how he created this almost like opposite end of the world, like with, and again, the man is a fucking wizard where he didn't just say like, oh yeah, they have a whole world. It's called Talokan. Like, and you know, Namor is that version of their Black Panther. He was like, no. They have a whole culture. Get ready to see it and get ready to understand it. And I was like, shit. Like, I just thought that they did such an outstanding job with like his character and his backstory too. I mean, he is in terms of like
watching slave owners and colonizers.
And
then killing them on the screen.
That whole moment where he says to Shuri, like, these are people who will try to enslave us if given the chance. Like, why are you being neutral about this? Like, I thought that was just such a fantastically delivered like line, and he's so calm about it. Like, he's calm to the point of like, no, he just gets it and understands it and knows that that's the way the world works. There's no doubt or anger or fear in his voice. It's so matter of factly delivered that I was like, damn, this is good.
That's true.
Like, Yeah.
And I think like it's one of those writing things where like if you can make this character relatable even though they want to do terrible things, then that is where you get that like majestic feeling of like, oh, like I get where you're coming from. Don't
Yeah.
agree with the whole killing a 19-year-old girl thing, but I do understand why you're doing what you're doing, and it's like I understand how that makes sense to you, especially as somebody that is like, well, we've been doing this for like hundreds of years. I've been alive for hundreds of years. This is how we've done things and we've stayed safe. So like get on board or like whatever.
Get on
So
board, get out of the way. And
yeah.
I mean, and then for that to like that moment, like that whole like, are you willing to sacrifice one in order for both of us to have a partnership and work
Right.
together? The fact that they bring that back when Killmonger says to Shuri, your daddy would have killed that girl and nobody would have known about it. I was like, God damn. Like,
he did. And I want to give credit. I got to give credit. Now, I don't know how many people, obviously other people are involved in this, but Ryan Coogler knows how to write a relatable villain.
Yes.
Anti-hero, whatever it is you want to call it.
He and the Russo brothers.
You have, and the Russo brothers. So you have which is why I wanted him to do, and spoiler alert, there's no Dr. Doom in this. I just knew that there was going to be a Doom, but on the back end, it's inappropriate to introduce a character like that.
I have some crow to eat on that one. I was pretty convinced that was going to
I just knew, right. I could see where you would want it to happen in the after credit scene, but I think that they did well with this. But Ryan Coogler wrote Killmonger, and Killmonger throughout the entire movie up until Loki, the revamped version of Loki, not the one that Josh Whedon had, the one
like the series Loki.
Yeah, the serious Loki. Those were your relatable like villains of like, oh, well, you know, I ain't really mad at him because he's making a whole lot of points that I probably would, you know, make in the end. And Killmonger in this same movie being like, your brother was way too noble. Your mama sacrificed herself, okay? And your daddy, your daddy would have killed them without even thinking twice about it. And then Namor is like, listen, I watched these people. I went to go bury my mom where she asked me to be buried on the land. This dude don't even know me. He called me a demon, said I was filled with no love, and they were like literally enslaving my people, and then called me a demon and said I was filled with no love when I just walked up on the thing. That is how you create these good, compelling villains like a Kang and like all of these people. Like I hope they do the same with Doom when it's Doom's time.
I can't see how they can't. I mean, it just would make so much sense, and I'm convinced that I really want Ryan Coogler to write Kang. Like I really want him to write Doom. He does such a good job with his villains. Like I'd be criminal not to.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, like in the interview, that I'm totally blanking on the person's name, but the person who played Namor, he legit said like, I'm not the villain in this movie, and I totally agree.
Oh, I would absolutely agree.
He like the ends to his means are like, no, those aren't good, but like the reasoning he has totally on par. And if the Wakandans were using it, we'd be like, well, it's Wakanda, and like we kind of maybe go along with it. I don't know, but I'm trying to find a different way to say it, but I think at the end of the day, it's just putting those things that we all feel so deeply or would relate to onto screen. That's really hard, and he just does it. And that entire sequence of Namor, I loved how they spent no time leading up to it of like Namor finds people being enslaved, cut to everything on fire, and the enslavers are killed. That is exactly the type of justice that would be done. That we didn't have to lead up to it. We didn't have to justify it. Like, don't enslave people. That's bad.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that is really, really cool is like they learned for all intents and purposes. I mean, they learned a different language for all of that, which I think is just so cool that they were willing to go to that. So, and it's just, I'm just kind of floored, like that it was just such a cool way to do that. It's the Mayan language. That's what they were speaking. And that is, that is it highlights the importance that language has to people culturally. And
Representation.
it's especially since there are rumors, if you study like languages and where they exist. I mean, that is considered to be much like some of the native languages here in the States. Mayan is on its way out. There are a few people who still speak it, and you put it in a movie that made $183 million this weekend nationally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guess who's one of representation? Once again, just like Black Panther 1, you have even more even the Haiti representation on,
Oh yeah.
that moment made so many Haitian people on TikTok, on socials, just proud to be even mentioned in the Black, and they're speaking French, and they're just in this, in this beautiful like boarding school or whatever you want to call. Maybe it's not a boarding school necessarily, but they're in this nice school, and so representation matters, man. Like you have to
100%.
have these moments, and you have to have them done correctly. I also want to say this movie made a shit ton of money. Okay,
I mean,
this
everybody
movie
saw it this weekend
with Black and predominantly Black and brown people and women of color in the lead. Made a shit ton of money. Whatever reason you was there to go see it, they did that. So you can't tell me the shit won't sell, and you can't tell me you can't do it a right way. There is a right way to do it, because never did I feel like this was cliche or cringy in any aspect. And there wasn't really like, there's deeper themes to me, I think, of working together and people like community, like communities coming together instead of fighting each other, and like this outside perspective being like, well, what if we went in and just split them all up? And then like they're like, well, no, we gonna figure this shit out together. I do think that there are underlying themes there that obviously you can't discover in the span of this almost 3-hour movie, but I enjoyed that a lot. Like I enjoyed that.
I mean, to back the numbers up for you, Marcus, according to the Hollywood Reporter, an article that was released today, the superhero movie made $181 million at the domestic box office. And that's just domestically. It also earned $331.3 million globally. And for reference, and the Hollywood Reporter goes out of its way to say that's as much as Black Adam earned in its first 3 weeks total.
I mean, it's
the Man in Black is pissed.
I mean, the reputation precedes it, and for good reason. Like they do amazing things with amazing talent and tell a story that I had no idea they could pull off, to be completely honest. Through all the production stuff, I thought if we got a serviceable movie, that would be a miracle. The fact that we have a movie that covers themes of grief, imperialism, and like vengeance, and how that's bad, and weaves them in such a wonderful tapestry, and it's a good movie, and it doesn't feel bogged down. That's a miracle. And that's why I'm saying that this movie, it's recency bias maybe, but you can't compare it to any other Marvel movie right now. It's just on a different level. Like honestly, I mean, it's wild.
Emotionally,
I would say, I would say, this one is, I mean, again, we'll get this on the Marvel Studios. Ranking spectacular.
And we'll have some space too, because I'm like on a Wakanda Forever high, but it's hard. It's hard to see.
I'm gonna make the
keep changing.
I'm gonna make the title longer every time I bring it up. The films in black and white, first annual Marvel Studios review spectacular. Now it's gotten longer.
The title just
it's gonna be a full paragraph by the time we actually get to it. But I think the other thing is I think, I don't like to poke the bear too much, but this is where I get mad, because someone's going to make some fucking arrogant director like Martin Scorsese is going to make some comment about like superhero movies aren't cinema. I would categorize, regardless of how other people feel about it, and this is still a superhero movie. Like there are still like superhero elements that are here.
That guy got winged feet.
So please, let's not categorize all of them and put them in there. Are there some that are like very Fast and the Furious, like high octane action things? Yeah, absolutely. And that's just like there are action movies that are that way as well, that aren't superhero oriented. So you don't get to tell me, and I'm going to bring it up again, that Angela Bassett's performance isn't cinema. Like, get fucked. I don't want to hear it. Like, she did an outstanding job, and people can emote and have depth. I would even say, M'Baku to a certain extent
Oh, yeah,
has
he was
some
good.
depth
Oh,
in this movie too.
yeah.
He
He is
does.
not just was he some of the like comic relief? Yeah, a little bit
You
here and there.
bald-headed demon.
Yeah, that. But the moment where he's like connecting with Shuri generally after Queen
Yeah.
Ramonda dies,
Because
that
T'Challa
is
asked him to. That was
that
good.
is such a powerful moment. And so again, we can't just like group these all into the same thing and like write them off and move on. Like we can't keep doing that.
For anybody, there are a lot of people that are saying that they just don't like this movie. I'm not seeing a lot of in the middle. Either people liked it
Yep.
or they didn't like it. But for people that didn't like it, I can't seem to hear valid reasons as to why they don't like it.
One reason I saw today that I watched was someone said the plot wasn't necessarily super great. Like there wasn't a lot to, and part of me was like, what movie did you watch? Like, are you sure you saw this one? And it wasn't like a knockoff, like Gray Leopard 2, like, Journey to Brooklyn. Like I just
Gray Leopard 2, Brooklyn Forever.
Yeah, Brooklyn Forever. Like so there's a part of me that's like, I don't know, like were there tropes in there and are there things that like didn't work? Like nothing's perfect. Like nothing is
I
perfect.
don't know what they were looking for.
That's kind of my part
like,
too.
What are you looking for in the plot, I guess, is my question. Her brother died. She has to grieve. There's a person that attacked. It's too much shit going on. Even for Shuri, to an extent, to going back to my original, like, it's a lot of shit going on. She is not able to mourn until the very end of this movie. And then she gets her, like, mourn on and gets her relief, and then is able to come to grips with everything that has happened. That's not till the end of the movie.
Right.
So I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think people who don't like it are chastising it too much on it's too busy, there's too much to follow. If anything, maybe. But I feel like that's probably being
It was a lot of
critical.
This is a Black Panther movie. With Doug said this in the theater that there was no Black Panther up until like
I said this
20,
we were 2/3 into a Black Panther movie without a Black Panther.
Yeah, but that's to be, I don't know, that's to be expected. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because you have to do the big reveal, the big tie-dye moment.
Yeah.
You're like, I get it, but it was also very funny because it was true. There was no Black Panther suit.
Well, and again,
she just said it's dead.
And if she had gone to it and gone back to it like super quickly, I feel like there's a portion of it that's like, oh, so then she's like, she still needs to process her grief. Like she still needs to, and especially that being so tied to her brother. Like, I don't think she can just slap the suit on and move on with it. Like her saying it's dead wasn't saying like to the country it was dead. She's like, no, to me it's dead. Like I can't touch it. Like I can't be, or it can't be something I even see as being an option. And I think that's where the journey at the end of coming back to it, her going to Talokan and seeing what Namor meant to the people, I think that for her was the moment where she was like, no, Black Panther's something more than just something.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah,
no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this movie did such a good job delivering on those themes of just like not letting vengeance or grief consume you. It's healthy to work through them, but you can't let it consume you. And I feel like what I'm waiting for, because this happens anytime a movie gets this big, I feel like we're going to see some folks on social media like come out and be like, yeah, you know what, Shuri should have killed him, or like, what, like, is that really what you think the message of this movie is? Like the whole point of it was like they can unite because like literally the whole world's gonna come after them.
Well, I think people project obviously a lot of themselves, what they would have done in themselves, when you forget that it's telling a story. The entire, like, you're trying to tell a story, and people are like, well, if it was me, this is why everybody don't have power. That's just a deeper thought in the back of my head.
That's why everybody shouldn't have power.
Everybody shouldn't be. This is why everybody shouldn't have power, because then they be so quick. They become the Black Panther. First thing they do is slicing somebody who owe them $20 throat over, and it's like, hey, Bucko, like, there was a journey to becoming the Black Panther, and the first thing you did was go kill the guy you $20 from a dice game. Like, yeah, come on, man, like, you gotta be better than that. So a lot of projecting is going to happen. Now, there are some takes out there. I'm not going to say who, but there's a certain person out there just making all these takes about the Black Panther movie that I am just like, dude, did you watch the same movie? And the quick reviews, like, granted, this is a Monday. We saw the movie on a Saturday. Saw the movie on a Saturday
evening.
Saw the movie on a Saturday. Got to sit with it for a little bit. Got to really think on it a little bit. Talk about it in the group chat with the boys. But these quick reviews y'all got, look, can y'all just let some shit just sit for a little bit? Because there be people on there that I feel like just start hating shit because so many people like it, and y'all really need a therapist. Well, like, y'all need to go talk to. Y'all need to go talk to somebody, because y'all are fucking sick. There are so many people out there. You are so quick to dislike something because it's a fad, and you want to be so fucking different that you say, man, that movie was trash. And it's like, was it trash, or was it that bad? Because to me, trash means I've seen trash movies, okay? And I know a bad movie. This is far from a terrible trash movie. Yeah. And what were your expectations? And is it because it's not Chadwick Boseman? Is it because it's not the Black Panther you wanted it to be? Like, granted, that were there some things that can be fixed? You name me a perfect movie.
I mean, there are very few.
And so, like, I just feel like y'all just need to, like, let shit sit. Maybe watch it twice. Is it 3 hours? Yes, but you also watch Endgame 5 times. And I watch Zack Snyder's Justice League 7 times. So please, like, shut the hell up and just live with it a little bit.
I'm really proud of you. Really proud of you for admitting that.
I told you I am over my Zack Snyder cut phase. I watched the movie yesterday, like half of it yesterday, but like, I still enjoyed the movie.
Right, of course.
I'm like, I've got what I wanted out of this shit. So like, I'm good.
Marcus, I think the other part of that is, like, I think this is sort of like a downside. I'm going to sound like an old person, like, but I think this is also sort of like a downside for the way in which social media, specifically things like TikTok work and Instagram Reels work these days, where it's like, I'm trying to get a buzz, and the best way for me to be a buzz is to be more critical than it is to say, like, that you love something. We as a society want to watch things get shit on. Like, we get off on it, which is weird.
It's brain chemistry. Your brain is going to react more to the negative stuff than the positive stuff. Like, there's a ton of psychology about it. I won't get into it here, but your brain retains that negative stuff more.
Right. Well, Brian, when we were all walking the plains, we needed to remember where the saber-toothed tiger was. We're not looking to find the prettiest roses. We need to know what to avoid so we stay alive. Like, it's biochemistry lizard brain. Like, I don't care where the berries are. Tell me where the tiger is, and that's all I care about. And how Ricky's an idiot because he got eaten by a tiger. But the point I'm making is, like, we don't be careful of people who's, like, creating content for literally just who get a lot of views just for being negative. And that's why I think we talked at the beginning, the value and what we appreciate about this podcast. I appreciate that we come here to love things. And if you are looking for a place where you can come and just nerd out and it doesn't matter about what, we will love you and take you here. Like, that's what we're about. And that's what we'll always be about, which is why I'm glad we don't do, like, a rating system. We're not going to tell you something was a 2 out of 5 or a 3 out of 10. We're just going to tell you how we interpret it, and you make your own decisions.
Yeah. And also, and it's not just I want to add, that was a great, beautiful point, Doug. I also want to add, it's not just the people who are making purposeful negative content. Sometimes it's just the access to and the ability to that makes you just as dangerous and just as quick to end up making that content, right? Because TikTok and everything, they make it so accessible and easy. There's so many templates for you to make the content because they want you on their platform, right? And going back to what Brian was saying, and this is a rabbit hole, but the algorithm on Facebook, there was a whole discussion and articles about how Facebook was pushing the opposite opinions of what you believe so that you could interact with it more and remain on the site more. So we know that this shit exists. You just don't be so quick to it. This is one thing this movie was for me, is it was a pause in time. Yeah. And there's this moment of Chadwick is really gone. And there was this moment before Chadwick left that he did an interview and he looked sick. He looked sick. And people hopped on the internet and made all types of memes and made fun of him. And then 3 weeks later, he passed away.
Yep.
And everybody was like, well, you got to be careful what you say because you never know what somebody's going to. And they did that shit for 2 weeks and went right back to the same old bullshit. And so this for me was a pause in time to remember Chadwick is gone. Okay. And this movie did this great thing where they that when they put his casket and it floated and it went up into the ship, that was a closure. That was them saying he's gone.
Yeah.
Right. And this Shuri is your new Black Panther. Chadwick is not coming back. For all y'all want talking about, we should have recast it. We should have recast it. They even went an extra mile and gave you a child, a bloodline for continuation.
Did. Which I thought was, I just thought that was neat. I thought that was
It was
nice.
good.
That.
I want to say that I called that from 3 miles away.
Maggie. By the way, you and Maggie called that.
He called it halfway
Did Maggie call it? Because the mom, and I kept thinking about what you said a couple podcasts ago. The mom said, I have to tell you something about your brother right before Namor popped out of the water. And I was like, well, what is he going to say? And she went to the school. And Doug, I don't know if you remember, but I watched the TikTok. The same kid runs out to meet Queen Ramonda outside of the school and greet them and is in the hallway and speaking French. And so he already knew who she was. When they reposted it on TikTok, and then when Shuri went to meet it, it's the same kid.
I had two things that I have two things that I noticed, but I missed that. I had two things that I noticed. One is relatively obvious. The at the end.
Oh, go ahead.
At the end, she says to her son, she goes, "Your Baba prepared you
for death,"
which is a callback to the first movie when King T'Chaka says a father who does not. Yep.
A good father will prepare his son for doesn't prepare his son for death has failed as a father.
Right. And then the other thing that I noticed is the license plate on the van is Chadwick Boseman's birth date.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It's like CB 1113 like 76.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it's like his birthday.
I didn't know that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
can you imagine how much other stuff like that and homages?
Oh, I'm sure there's a ton of shit, and I'm sure there's a bunch more in there.
And shout out to Michael B. Jordan because he killed it again. You came back and re-killed your role.
Wow, talk about. I mean, he used every second of it, and the emotional impact of it. Maggie and I both sank in our seats, like, oh no, you're seeing Killmonger. That's literally the worst thing that can happen to you. I mean, we were both such in that moment with Shuri as a character of just how bad, how off the deep end you must be to see Eric Killmonger, the guy who tried to kill your brother. Oh my gosh.
And tried to kill you.
And tried to kill you.
It was committed to killing you.
Just excellent storytelling. I can't think of an intelligent thing to say about it because I was just so taken aback. Such excellent placement, such excellent use of themes and messaging and having a point for Shuri's story. Man, I can't say enough good things about this movie.
Yep. Gentlemen, anything else that you all would like to say about this film before we transition into plugs for the week?
Great job.
We didn't talk about her a lot, but I mean, Nakia, she was a great character. Lupita Nyong'o, obviously did exactly what she needed to do. I love seeing her work. What a great reason not to show up to Endgame. Hey, y'all, I know y'all are fighting Thanos, but I was preggers. Can you just relax? Nobody wants me hanging out. So I thought that was an interesting way to handle that and weave that in. I thought that was fascinating. I was not expecting that. Anyway, just shout out to Lupita. I mean, killed it again.
Marcus, anything else?
I mean, great job on this movie. Whatever way you want to watch this, I understand if it feels a little bit incomplete because there is no phase 4 continuation in this movie. You don't get a lot of answers for things. It does leave you on that cliffhanger. I can understand if you are a regular Marvel fan that if that's what you were coming to the movie for, I see your frustration, but that's not what this is about. And I do think that this was a very unique situation where, yes, actors, actresses, people who act, they pass away. The guy who played General Ross passed away. There's a lot of people that passed away, but there's a reason why they had to go about this way because there is a cultural component that is very important to what Black Panther meant and did to the MCU when that first one came out, to me at least.
Yeah. Well,
the way that you tell the story and the way that you pay homage to this man that inspired so many people to cross the X on their chest and do this Wakanda Forever pose. And he was just a nice human being all around, and nobody knew, and he was sick and did all these movies and people didn't know. It's important to me that this movie is what it was.
For sure.
Because like it wasn't just a grieving thing for the sake of a story and progressing somebody to become a new Black Panther. It's to tell the story and give the words to other people who may be feeling the same thing. And yes, there are celebrities, right? You don't really know these people, but there are some people who just leave a big impact and a major impact and are just good people going too soon.
Well, and I think the other thing is that like as much as like Chris Evans will always be Captain America, I think it's hard to separate the characters that some people play from because of the impact that they've had on society as a whole. And I think Chadwick Boseman will forever, I know, and I don't mean this disrespectfully in any way, shape, or form to Letitia Wright, but I think that Chadwick's always going to be in some people's minds Black Panther, like regardless of where the direction is and what the theming is, he's always going to have a place in our hearts as being that person. And so it's really hard in this case to make a sequel that you've committed to and not talk about it. Like you couldn't not talk about it. So I think that's other portions of it. And you're absolutely right. Like the cultural significance is huge there too. So, yeah, this is really good. That's all I really wanted to say is that this is good. You should see it in the theater if you can.
Yeah, it's way better in the theater.
It was really good in the theater.
Yes.
So see it in the theater if you can. And so I think if you're really watching the movie and taking it all in, you're not going to be bothered at the end that there isn't like some puzzle piece revealed at the end of this. So.
I mean, and we'll talk about. I feel like this is another tease for our Roundup Spectacular later.
Do you mean
month.
the Films in Black and White Marvel Studios
First annual
review extravaganza
of Phase 4? Yes, but I mean this entire phase, and we got Marcus down for the count. This entire phase has just been like messing with those expectations, and I'm curious to see how everybody feels about that. And I'm excited to see where Phase 5 takes us.
I mean,
one more thing. This was the hardest phase to get through. This one was like eating a brick. It was the hardest phase to get through.
And I have data for why that might be the case. So make sure you tune back in. It's going to be two
the
episodes
Films
away.
in Black and White live streamed Marvel Studios Phase 4 review extravaganza. I swear to God, I'm gonna make this a paragraph before we get to it.
It's gonna take all of the if you made a tweet, and it's gonna take up all of your screen. It's gonna be this big. Like that's what we're shooting for. It's giving a lot of Daenerys Targaryen titling here.
Oh yeah, first of her name, last of her house.
Yes,
mother of dragons. Gentlemen, what do you all
is it
have?
To be T'Challa, son of T'Challa? I thought that was pretty cool.
That was nice.
I thought that was good.
But gentlemen, what do you have to plug this week? Brian?
Hey folks, go to thelovenerds.com. We got it on the screen here. We'll also link it in the bio. Not the bio. We'll also link it in our episode description.
Show notes.
Link it in our show notes. Oh man, third time's the charm. Anyway, Thanksgiving's coming up. Don't make this harder on yourself. Go to thelovenerds.com. There's already recipes there. You already got so much going on. You already got to get a Christmas gift for your Uncle Al that you're gonna see that you've never seen. You know you're gonna get him something off of Amazon. But put time into that. The Love Nerds, they've got you covered on the recipes. So go there.
I'm proud of both of you for very different reasons this week. Brian's out here acknowledging Thanksgiving as the next holiday, which is huge for me. It's a great moment for me.
God.
And Marcus is admitting publicly how many times he's watched a really long movie. I don't know if I have anything to plug.
I was going to say, Doug, do you have?
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, what the hell? You're so busy basking in
people.
Yeah, what the hell? Tell me Zack Snyder was good. Tell me he was the best director for the Justice League. Say it now.
I mean, I don't have to do anything, but I can appreciate the growth that you all.
Well,
Marcus, what do you have to plug?
Something. What do you want to plug?
Jesus, listen, I just want to promote. Follow the mantra. Even though Doug may piss you off, you want to stay never offended, always humble. No, but follow the mantra, never offended, always humble. You know the deal. Go treat yourself to something nice from the mantra. Go to hit the link in the bio, hit the link in the show notes. Go buy yourself a hoodie. Go buy yourself something nice. It's getting cold outside for us here in South Dakota. Treat yourself to something nice. We got mugs for coffee. We got hoodies for your body. All right. So, but whatever you do, just make sure you follow the mantra. Never offended, always humble.
I ran the other day outdoors in my Noah sweatshirt, and it kept me very warm for the duration of my run. So big plug for
Excellent.
that
Love that.
merch.
Love
I have two things to plug. First, if you are missing some and you are feeling anxious for some more stories from Wakanda, pick up Wakanda in your local comic book store.
Ooh, I like
Stephanie
it.
Williams, friend of the podcast, is a writer on this one and dives into some more pieces on it. So starting a brand new storyline. I haven't had a chance to read it, but I'm sure it's outstanding because Stephanie's awesome. So be sure that you pick this one up either online, and you can, there are some stores that you can order online, or wherever your local comic book store is. I also would like to plug this particular podcast. You know, share us with a friend, leave us a review, best ways to support the pod. But if you're feeling like you want to, sign up for the Patreon. We have some great content. There's a big episode coming at the end of November, which I will not repeat again out of respect. But that's what we got there. And in the interest of growth, Zack Snyder was the best director for Justice League going forward, and I appreciate why people like Christmas time and how it makes them feel. Growth. That's where we
want to tell Brian real quick why I was almost late to the movie.
Why were you late?
To your house? Because I was in my car jamming the Christmas music.
Oh yes, he was listening to Christmas music. I did, and I would like to say I didn't ridicule him. I said sometimes you just have to. I couldn't.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
You just okay. We can stop. Gentlemen, we have a 3-step process to success. Brian, lay it on us with that first step.
Hey folks, read a book. Usually I have something snappy to say, but I don't. And I'm instead gonna plug my friend Gina Cadlick's book, Heretic. You can get it right now. I went to school with her. She has an amazing story to tell. So read a memoir, challenge yourself. Heretic by Gina Cadlick.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Also, can we please like and review this podcast so that I can get a free subscription or some type of free mint sponsorship from Audible, because I'm trying to listen to more books at work, but I can't do it without your help, and I don't want to pay $15.99 out of my own pocket. So make this podcast pop so that we can get a sponsorship by Audible.
That would be fantastic. I would love that. Audible for your ears. The second key to success is to drink some water. Look, y'all, it's important to stay hydrated, especially at the holidays. There's a lot going on, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of food. And so it's good to just have some water in your system to help push it through. Plus, you know, it's getting dry. The air's getting drier. You got to get some water in your body so just make sure you take care of yourself and you drink some water and treat yourself to the nice water every once in a while. Everyone deserves an indulgence, and maybe it's bubbler, maybe it's Voss, but just drink some water. Yeah,
do it.
Always bubbler.
And Marcus, what's our last step?
You want to make sure you wash your ass. You want to know something Namor doesn't have to worry about? Washing his ass, because he lives in water. Okay, so he always stays fresh. He always stays clean. When Wakanda's a clean nation, but when you know what they were happy for, when they got replenished with the cooling waters of Lake Minnetonka. And so like you just should wash your ass. Okay, all they needed was a little Dove soap when they got rinsed, and they would have been good to go. So you know, be like Namor. Don't be like Namor. Be like Namor and wash more of your ass.
That is
wash your ass.
Incredible, and I'm not even mad about it.
Yeah.
Well
Lake Minnetonka pull. Like, how can you be mad?
Don't be like Namor. Wash more of your ass. That was
that's a soap ad.
That was the chef's kiss for me.
Thanks.
We are going to take next week off in the interest of or is it the week after?
I think it's the week after.
Week after? Okay, so we're going to take.
Oh no, is it next week? Oh, it's next week. It is.
This is next week.
Yeah,
no, this is
damn. Thanksgiving came fast as hell.
Thanksgiving came up on us
next week.
Yeah, well, when you spend half your time pretending like it doesn't exist, it's hard to acknowledge the date. But it is. But next week we're gonna take off. In the interest of people
I'll be
being
here.
with
I
their
ain't going nowhere.
families. And then we'll be
I'll be here
back.
at 8:00.
We will be back the week after. We'll be back the week after for the Films in Black and White first annual live streamed Marvel Phase 4 Studios review spectacular. We'll be back here to break down the whole thing. And so we hope you all join us because we're going to talk about it, kind of do some rankings, do some reviews.
All of it.
And we're
be
also
on the lookout on our socials. We're gonna have some ranked choice voting. We want some community engagement here. We want to pick the best projects or the ones that were the most enjoyable as a community. So as a community, we will have a definitive list through ranked choice voting. Very excited for this.
Absolutely.
And season 4 of the podcast is coming, y'all.
Yeah.
This is only season 3. Season 4 is going to be great. Season 4
we're going to have a season 4 unlike phase 4, and it's always going to go down smooth. So, that's where it's at. But in the meantime and in the between time, stay safe, stay healthy. We hope you all have a good week. We acknowledge that Thanksgiving can be traumatic for some folks, particularly some native populations. Like it's always not a cozy, warm feeling. So if you don't celebrate, happy harvest. If you do celebrate Thanksgiving, have a good Thanksgiving. But we'll be back the week after, and we look forward to breaking everything down with you. So in the meantime, between time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all next week.
And that's a fact, Jack.
Boom.
That's it.